Alright, so now that we talked about what Bootstrap is, I'm going to show you how to implement it, and we're also going to take a look at getbootstrap.com, which is where you can find all of the different snippets and different code for some of the elements that Bootstrap offers. Alright, so we're going to download Bootstrap, so getbootstrap.com, we click this button here, and you can see you can use the CDN if you want, if you don't want to actually download the files. But we're going to go ahead and click the download Bootstrap button. Alright, so that's going to be a zip file, and if you open that up, you'll see that there's three folders. There's a CSS folder, fonts, and JS. So what I'm going to do is I have an empty folder here. I'm just going to bring these over. Alright, now if we look in the CSS folder, you'll see there's a bunch of files here. We have bootstrap.css. We have bootstrap.min.css, which is just a minified version of it. And then we have this bootstrap theme CSS, which we're not going to be needing. So all we need here is bootstrap CSS. The rest of them we can go ahead and delete. Alright, and then in the JS folder, we only need the bootstrap.js. Alright, or you could use the minified version if you want. And then we're just going to create an index.html file. Okay, we're going to go ahead and open that up. Let's also open it in the browser. And we're going to just put in our HTML tags here. We'll just say bootstrap template. And what we need to do is include that CSS file. So we're going to use a link tag here. Rel equals style sheet, and then we want to point to CSS slash bootstrap.css. Alright, and if we save that, reload, you can see that the font is different than the default, and there's also no margin or padding or anything. Okay, and if we go ahead and look at the source code, you can see we have our bootstrap CSS file. If I open that up, it should show you the bootstrap file. Alright, so now that that's implemented, we also want to include the JavaScript. Now, if you're not planning on ever using any of the JavaScript widgets or drop down or anything like that, then you don't need to include it, but it is a good idea just to throw it in there. Alright, so we're going to put a script tag. That's going to go to js slash bootstrap.js. And if we go ahead and save that, I'm going to open up the console here with F12 and reload, and you'll see that we get an error. It's saying that Bootstrap's JavaScript requires jQuery. Alright, so in order to use that JavaScript file, you have to also include jQuery. You could go ahead and download it, but I'm just going to use the CDN. And I want 1.x, and I'm just going to grab this script tag right here. Okay, if we put that right above the bootstrap.js, and now we can go back and reload, and you can see the error's gone. Alright, so that's pretty much all we need to do to be able to start using Bootstrap. Now, if we go to the Get Bootstrap website, and we click over here, we go to Get Started, and then Examples. There's a bunch of templates here that you can use that are really easy to implement. So for instance, let's say we want this one right here, this Navbar template to start with. Click on it, it's going to just open it up in a different page, and we'll do a Control U to look at the source code. And as far as the head area, you should include the viewport, especially if you want your site to be responsive for mobile devices. And then we can probably grab these meta tags too, the character set. So we'll just copy that and just throw that in like that. Alright, and then let's go down here to the body. You can see we have a div with the class of container. And what the container does is it pushes everything into the middle. I believe it's 960 pixels by default. So we're going to grab from that container all the way to the ending div here. Copy it, and let's go ahead and just paste that in the body and save. and then if we go back and reload, you can see that we have that that template. We have a navbar here, and this big showcase area, this is called a jumbotron, which is a Bootstrap component. And you'll see if I go to this drop down and click it, it gives us a little drop down. Now this won't work if you don't have the JavaScript included here. Okay, that drop down menu happens due to JavaScript, so you need that. Alright, now if we look at the code here, I'm not going to go over it too much. The navbar has quite a bit of classes and stuff. What I usually do is just go get a snippet at the Get Bootstrap website as opposed to typing it all out. But basically, we just have a nav tag, has a class of navbar. Now, navbar default gives you the lighter color. We could go ahead and change this to navbar inverse and save it. And now you can see that it's a darker color. Okay, so you have navbar default and navbar inverse. Then we have a container, which is fluid. Okay, so not a specific size, it's adaptive. Div, we have a class here called navbar header. And if I go ahead and make this browser smaller, you'll see that the links disappear, but we have this button. If I click that, you can see it shows us the rest of our menu. Alright, so this is completely responsive. This is what it would look like if you were to view this template on a mobile device. Alright, so very helpful. There's not much you need to do to make your Bootstrap templates responsive. Here we have the navbar brand, which is basically the title. We could say my website, and you can see that that changes here. Alright, then we have our links. We have an LI with the class of active. That's this right here, the home link. You can see it has the solid background there. That's because it has the class active. Okay, then we have some other links. This one here is our drop down, which is this one, and you want to give that a class of drop down. And then we have this A tag here, and then a UL with the class of drop down menu, which is going to be all this stuff here. Alright, and then down here we have a UL with the class nav, navbar nav, and navbar right. Okay, the navbar right is pushing it over to this side. If we have navbar left, that keeps it over here. Alright, and that's pretty much it for the navbar. And if you look at the documentation here, if we go to components and then navbar over here on the side, that gives us some more information. It also shows you how you can actually put a form in there as well, a search form or a login form or something like that, which is right here. Alright, and let's see, the jumbotron, which is this main showcase area, basically just has a class of jumbotron, has an H1 and then a paragraph, and in this case we also have a button, which is a link that's formatted as a button, and we'll go over buttons, I believe, in the next video. Alright, so pretty simple. Like I said, you have all these templates to choose from to kind of start with. Often I use this one, the starter template, just for the navbar, and then I'll kind of do everything else myself. But we'll get into that. Alright, you can see down here we have a blog layout you can use, carousel. This one here uses the JavaScript carousel widget. And just some nice stuff to either prototype with or to use as kind of a boilerplate. Alright, so in the next video we're going to start to look at some of the typography and forms, and we'll also look at styling tables.